Hi, this is Dan Heisman, Philly tutor for Chess FM, and this is the Improve Your Chess video series for ICC members. In today's game, we're going to look at an over-the-board game. Both players are rated a little bit low, but the quality of play actually is pretty good, and it's a pretty interesting game. Alright, so white opens with c4. A lot of people tell me, oh, I don't want to play c4, that's a boring opening. And I tell people, openings usually lead to the kind of games that your style allows you to play, or how you make the moves, not necessarily what flows from the opening. So there are some openings, obviously, that are a lot sharper than others, but a much bigger factor in the game than necessarily the opening itself is how it's played. So in this game, I think you'll find it quite sharp. Alright, so black plays e5, which is reverse Sicilian, and now white can play either g3 or knight c3, or, those are the main moves. Knight c3, most popular move. Knight f6, and d3. That's a little bit of a strange move. If white's going to play a Botvinnik system with d3, e4, g3, he usually plays g3 first. And if he's not going to play a Botvinnik system, then committing the pawn to d3 too early is very passive, because there's an awful lot of lines in the English where black wants to play d2 to d4 in one move, and playing d3 first just seems a little passive. So black plays knight c6. Could also obviously play moves like d5 or bishop b4. Now white plays g3. Black plays bishop c5. Again, bishop b4 or maybe even d5 were certainly reasonable. Bishop g2. One of the things you like to do when black plays bishop to c5, just like when white plays bishop c4 early against the Sicilian, is you want to play e3 and a3 and then go for d4 and b4. And of course that's more effective when the pawn's on d2. So black castles, white plays knight f3, black plays d6, white castles, black plays bishop e6. Now interestingly, if this was the pawn on e3 instead of d3, white could now play d4 and hit the bishop and win material, because if black trades or trades and then moves the bishop, then white has a fork, and if black plays bishop takes c4, then simply d takes c5 wins two bishops for a rook and a pawn. Alright, so white plays a3, and now very often black plays a6 or a5 to stop b4. b4 isn't really a tactical threat in the sense that b4, bishop b6, c5 doesn't trap the bishop because the d-pawn's there. Black decides to play queen d7. I see a lot of amateurs doing this queen d7, bishop e6 stuff to try to trade off the fianchettoed bishop. When you're castled on opposite sides and you're trying to throw your pawns at him, this is a major idea. But when you're castled on the same side, it's just an idea. It's nothing special. It's not really a threat. So, here if white wants to stop that, he could even play knight to g5, which would hit the bishop and guard the h3 square. Instead, white plays the strange move rook e1. And what white's getting ready to do is avoid the trade of bishops as if his bishop on g2 is something special. And obviously it's a good garter of the king, but it's not so special you can't trade it off for its counterpart on the other side. And black plays bishop h3, and there's no threat here. White can simply play chess, and he didn't need the rook on e1. But the reason he moved the rook on e1 is so he could play bishop h1, and the bishop on g2 wouldn't be pinned to the rook. But this is all kind of silly, because, if you play over lots of annotated grandmaster games, grandmasters don't do this very much. They almost always just allow, black to trade off that bishop. They'll either take it on h3, or they'll let him take you. And it's not a big deal to trade the bishops to the same color when you're castled on the same side. But here white's acting like he needed to play rook e1 and bishop h1, which is actually not a good idea here. Alright, so black